Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm back here now with another motherboard. This time I've got another ITX board. This is the Gigabyte Z390-I AORUS Pro. I picked this one up off eBay. It was faulty. I'm just going to see whether or not we can get this working. I can't actually remember what the fault was on this board. Let's just do the standard diagnostic, see whether or not we can find anything. First off, it does look a little dusty. Got a bit of dust showing there. Like it's been stored somewhere for a little while, or just in someone's computer for quite a while and has stopped working that way. I'm not entirely sure, I can't remember. So first off, I'm just going to get the multimeter. I'm going to check the standard rails. I'm going to put the multimeter in continuity mode. We're going to have a look at the 3 volts, the 12 volts and the 5 volt rails on the main motherboard power supply. So that's up here. So I'm going to put this on ground first. This top right hand one is ground. And I'm just going to go around the rails. So I'm going to go with the 3 volt first. Nothing, just to double check. Yep. Let's check we've got a good ground. Yep. So 3 volts. Nope. 12 volts, that's good. And 5 volts. Yep. Okay, that's all good. And let's just check PS on. Yep, that seems good. Just to double check, I'm just going to go over maybe some of the rails on the board. Oh, so the inductors. Let's quickly see if there's anything flaring up. Can't see any in particular. Okay, right. That's all looking positive. We can check the battery that's just hiding inside there. As I lifted that up, I could see it. Not going to be easy to get those contacts, but it is these 2 pins underneath here. So there's 2 pins right here. DC voltage, and it's these. Where did they go? Oh, I've forgotten which ones they were now. These 2 pins here. Okay, we're getting 3 volts on that battery, so that's perfectly fine. No problem there. Okay, so let's have a look at the pins on here. What I'll do is I'll bring in the microscope so this is a little easier for you guys to see as well. Okay, you can't see the issue. Let's maybe see from above. I've just literally just taken the cover off. So if we come back here, there is this must be the issue. Let's see if we can see this on the screen here. It should be obvious to see. Just here, we've got a discrepancy with the pins. So let's have a look at that closer up. See whether or not that's a problem. Looking at it in the light, in the reflection that I can see, there's clearly a problem. Straight away we can see the problem. It is a bent pin on the CPU socket. It is, as you can see here, we've got 1 pin here, 1 further down on this row, 1 up there, 1 here, and not 1 in this position, and that's because it is here. It has been bent backwards. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to see if that's a ground pin, because if that's a ground pin, we're in luck. If it breaks, we're good. Multimeter back into continuity mode. I'm going to put 1 pin on ground, and then I'm going to see whether or not that pin there is a ground pin. I am touching that. No beep. That one is. A lot of the ones around it are ground, but the actual pin itself that's bent is not ground. So in that case, I'm going to try and bend this back, really hoping we don't break this. What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to, instead of just bending this at one point, I'm going to try and grab the whole pin and bend and move my entire tweezers around it. So if I can get my tweezer down like this. Because the thing is, these are so thin, this could break. Okay. We're getting somewhere. It's no longer bent backwards, it's now bent straight up.
So at this point, I'm really trying to focus, so I'm not really talking much as I'm bending this. And it is at this point that I slip up a little bit and raise the tweezers up, which actually results in pulling off and out the pin from the socket.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, that didn't work, did it? I've pulled the entire pin out. That's actually broken at the point where it attached to the board. I can't see myself getting that back in there now. That I am not going to be able to click back into that position. That's slid straight back in. There's no way that's connected. I'll be amazed if that is actually connected again. I thought these were soldered directly to the board. That feels like that's in the right position. Feels good. Sure that none of these bend down and touch it as they're compressed down by the processor. I mean, that one looks like it could be close, but I mean, this one could be close on that one. I may just give it a go, see if this works. I haven't seen any other issue. Something I've just noticed actually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just put the cover back on. No more pins get damaged. These traces here, I've just noticed them. This is from after I took off the attachments that were here for the CPU cooler or whatever it was for the mount on the back. So I've just taken those off and I can see there's quite a lot of damage here. I think these traces are going to be okay. They don't look like they've broken. They look okay. But this is on the other side as well. Let's have a look. That looks like a big ground plane. That's not going to be a problem. Got a bit of damage on this capacitor. Must be from when someone was tightening this or something. The other two holes, they seem okay. This one here, there's not any damage on any of the traces. And here, a little bit, but nothing major. I'm going to check the back of this board as well. Here, nothing wrong there. Again over here. And this one's fine. And this one's fine. I'm noticing a lot more damage on this side. Looks like a lot of impact damage. Just here, these pins here for what I assume is a capacitor on the other side. Yeah, a little capacitor. These pins have been bent over here. The bracket that holds the RAM slot in, I mean, that's been dented. So that's all gone. I mean, it's nothing at the moment that I can see that's going to cause any issues more so than the pin that came out of the socket. But there's nothing that I can see that's come off the board. But seeing as I'm checking, I'm going to do a check all over now. Oh, okay. What's this? This is a mess. We've got a loose resistor or capacitor maybe. Not entirely sure what that is. And it looks like there's one missing here. Not entirely sure what these are. Let's have a look. All looks like to do with the audio. So the audio jack. That's what that looks like that's for. I don't know what these pins are for each of this, but this is where the audio is attached on the other side here. You can see them. So these are the audio ports. I don't think that's going to be a problem at the moment. I may come back and fix that. I don't think that's going to be an issue. They're just some capacitors or some resistors for the audio. I don't think they'll have a problem with trying to turn this on. Okay, so I've gone around the bottom of the board. This is the only area that I can see that there are some resistors or capacitors missing. Now this, as I said, this is going to cause an issue with the audio and only the audio. So I'm going to leave that for now whilst I test the rest of the board, and I'll come back to that and install whatever is required there. Seeing as there is damage, I am going to continue a look on the upper side of the board, and I'll come back to you if I find anything. Okay, so I've had a thorough look on the top surface of the board. I can't see any problem apart from these pins on the front header. So for the power on switch and the restart switch. So I'm just going to bend these back into place here. There's just 3 pins that have bent out of place. So they look a lot better. That's it that I can see on this side. So there, let's put this back together. Oh, well, actually not back together. We're going to put a processor in here now, build up the board, see whether or not we get a picture. So I'll come back to you when it's all put together. Okay, so before putting this back together, I actually thought I'd have a quick look, see if I could find a board view, because what I needed to do is, if this does get working, I needed to replace that capacitor or resistor underneath the audio header. Now, in order to do that, I needed to find a board view in order to understand what that component was. But in the process of thinking of doing that, I decided, well, why not see whether or not that pin that I've tried to put back in place is actually connected to where it should be. So I've loaded up board view here, and I'm just trying to figure out which one this is. So looking at the board and the board view, I can see that we've got a little notch in here, which are these 4 pins. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're the second row down on the far end. On here, looking in here, we're on this pin here. Now this pin is a V core and is actually connected to multiple points on the processor, this V core. So there should be potentially continuity between this pin and the other pin. So I'm just going to double check this to see whether or not that's true. So it would have continuity around many of the pins around it. There's absolutely nothing. You can see that these two have. And now with this one here, nothing. So that means there is absolutely no connection between it. However, I'm not entirely sure what the cause or the problem would be if that isn't connected. You just don't want it connected to ground, which would be this one. So that's clearly not attached. But if I go to one of these, they are all connected. Now the problem is that if this is meant to supply V core into the processor, this one pin is no longer supplying that to that position on the processor. And that's where the problem could be. I can imagine that this may not turn on now with this not actually connected. So I think I was right in thinking that this here should be and would normally be soldered to the board. And I think that since it came out of this position, there is no longer any connection to the rest of the board. And I don't think there's any way that I can do that. The only potential is to try and maybe reflow the solder onto this joint, but I just can't see that actually happening. So, I mean, there's 2 ways I could there's one way I could fix this potentially, and I could solder a little kit of wire between the 2 of them. That could resolve the issue, or it may not be any problem at all. So I think I'm going to go with the second option of let's see what happens when I put the processor in and it's not connected to it. Okay, I'll come back to you when this is actually now built. Okay, yep, it's not built yet. I got the processor out and I got curious. Here's the processor. This is an i3-8100, and I thought, well, let's just check those contact pins. So having flipped over, it's now on the other side of the board. It was the 3rd one down. This pin here, which will have no contact. This one here, they are connected. They are all connected. So I think there's a potential that this will work, but I don't know for sure. Let's have a look. Okay, so with it all on, I've got it connected up to my short finder power supply. So it'll give an idea whether or not this is going to turn on or not. Otherwise, if it doesn't want to post to BIOS, I'll plug in a proper power supply. Let's see whether or not we get anything from this. So we've got power on the power supply, and I'm going to go ahead and press the power button. Okay, let's Turned on, turned off. Don't know. Do we have any? Oh, we're going on off. This could be because of the power supply. Oh no. That could be a BIOS thing. Have we got anything on the screen? It is turning on, but I don't know what's wrong at the moment. I don't have a speaker in. So I may try plugging a speaker in, see if we get anything. The beeping is the power supply, so I'm going to turn that off and see if I get a different one in. I've decided to plug in a proper power supply now. I've got my computer that's recording on the screen. I'm going to try turning it on now with this power supply. So we've instantly switched over to show that it's getting some power. And I press the on button. We get a fast fan spin. Another fan spin and off. And now another fan spin. As if it is trying to post, but the fan keeps going quite fast. Every now and then it's like it's trying to do something. I'm going to try and find a speaker to plug into this. So I'm going to turn this off again. Okay, speaker attached. Let's see if we get anything this time. Nothing from the speaker. Oh, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and off. Let's just quickly see if what we can find out from that. Okay, so I've just quickly swapped out the RAM. The RAM that I had in there, I think I remember, this one here is actually not working. So I need to put a mark on here. I've just swapped it out with one of the ones that I use for another motherboard repair. So I'm going to put that one to one side and maybe not use that one again because I have a feeling this is faulty. I've put the new RAM in. Let's see whether or not this makes any difference here. So let's find that power button. There it is. Power supply on. Oh, single beep this time. Ah, there we go. BIOS screen. And I don't have a mouse plugged in. I have a keyboard, but no mouse. Mouse in. And there we go. Right, we can see, yeah, we've got 16 gig of RAM in there, and we've got the 8100 CPU. Oh, so that's really good. That's all positive. I think the next thing to do is actually just go in here and replace whatever that resistor or capacitor is underneath the audio jack and fire it up again. But I will do some tests once that's done. So let's turn this off and let's solder on those parts. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to just take this one off. I'm going to clean up the pads and then I'm going to tin them, and then we're going to put some brand new capacitors on this. So I'm going to use the hot air station on this. Come in with a hot air here, take these ones off, clean it up. Okay, brilliant. They just flew out of there. I found one. Where did the other one just fly to? Okay, just up the board. Just out of camera shot. There we go, that's one moving into place, and the second one hopefully now. With a little nudge. There we go, perfect. Both of them into place now. Take the heat away, clean that up. Okay, so that's all cleared up. Maybe a bit too much solder on those, but I think it's okay. Okay, so I've plugged pretty much everything into this apart from an NVMe drive now. I've got a Wi-Fi antenna, I've put a graphics card in here, and I'm going to turn it on now. It's also connected to a hard drive with Windows installed. Let's see if it boots. I also put the RAM in the different slot. So we've got a single beat. All the lights have come on, which you can kind of see under here. So I'm hoping this will start booting. We don't have any picture at the moment. We have had a single beep, no picture. It does seem like it has booted. Okay, let's see if we got any problem with the HDMI cable or anything like that. Let's switch out the graphics card, see if we get any, if that's potentially causing the problem. Let's swap the graphics card out, or just take the graphics card out for now and just plug this back into the board direct, see whether or not we get a picture now. HDMI flicks straight across to that when I hit the power supply on. Computer power on, single beep. There we go, we get a picture straight away. So what's going on with PCI Express slot? That's booted in. Okay, so we're almost booting fine. So let's have a look, see whether or not there's a problem with this PCI Express slot. I'm going to turn this off now, see if we get anywhere with that. Now I know that this is a working graphics card because I've used this on my other repairs and I've not had a single problem with this. So let's try and put it back in again, see if just reseating it. I may just clean these pins, put some IPA on here and just move it in and out of the slot. Like I said, it's quite dusty in that PCIe slot region, as I mentioned at the very beginning. So let's see. Clicking in and out nicely. What was really weird though is that it did a single beep as if it's working fine. Let's try again. Turn it on with the graphics card in. On button, HDMI recognizes something's going on. No signal at the moment. No signal detected on the monitor. Interesting, this is the first time I've seen this come up on my OBS saying video format not supported. Oh, it's gone away now. Oh, okay, hang on, we're in. It just popped up on the screen as you saw it there as well. That's it, it has actually shown up on the screen. We have got something now here. So it looks like cleaning the slot did the trick. Perfect. So this seems to be working fine. There is that one pin that was causing a problem on the CPU, but that seems to have been resolved as it doesn't seem like it's a problem not having that pin there. I will conduct a load of tests. Let's start off with Limpack. I need to be careful testing this because I haven't actually got a fan seated on here perfectly, but let's see. Okay, so I left Limpack running for quite a long time. I've already closed it down, so apologies. I feel I've got to leave it on there. But it's all working. Doesn't seem to be any problem with this. So this is another really good fix. I'm actually going to use this to replace a motherboard that I had in my NAS computer, which has failed. I believe it's a BIOS problem, but it's quite an old motherboard now, so I was thinking of upgrading soon anyway. So this is actually quite a good thing for me to have fixed. But yeah, thank you again for watching along. It may not have been as interesting, but I hope you learned a little bit there. I've definitely learned that all pins in the processor are not required. I knew there was some ground pins that were around that weren't needed. But it was interesting a little bit there. You've seen the damage on the back with the knocked off capacitors. But everything's working, so this is really good. And thanks again for watching, and hopefully catch you on the next one. So, welcome back. A little bit of an add-on to the video. I forgot to show that the audio was working. I've actually had this running for quite some time now. It has been working as my NAS computer, and when I was editing the video I noticed that I hadn't actually shown that the audio was working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to boot it up again. I've taken it apart, put it on my desk so you can actually see. I'm not going to take it out of here because it's actually quite a task to actually put all of these hard drives and everything into this case. It's not a server case, but it works. It does the job. I'll just turn it on. This is running Ubuntu. It's a Linux server that I've got set up. I don't typically use it on the screen. The fan's actually turned off. It's not always running. It only needs to go on when it actually needs to be on. Okay, with it booted now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug in this audio jack into the port for the audio out, but I've also got a microphone here as well that I was going to plug in. So let's just make it so you can see this a little better. Open up the settings. Let's also put on a little bit of Joey Does Tech so we can hear something coming out in a second. Sorry, Joey, your face is going to be a little bit covered. Here we go, audio first. Let's see if this changes the audio output. There we go, straight away, line out. So we've got audio out. For the input, we've got no input device at the moment detected, and I'm just going to plug in the, you can't see this very well, but it's down here. I'm just putting it in now. And input. There we go. Straight away, it's recognized there is an input device. These are some of my old Turtle Beach headphones. You can quite clearly see I'm pointing at the screen. You can see it up there. We can see the input is being recognized. So as I tap this, that is changing. I don't have any 5.1 or 7.1 audio to check, so I can't easily check the other ports. So that on the back of here, we've got line in and out for side channels and stuff like that. I don't have that available, but as you can see, just from a standard audio, this is working perfectly fine. I would class that as a win. The computer's working perfectly fine. I've got absolutely no problems with this at all. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something there. I hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully catch you on the next video. Cheers.